think that means we're live.
We're live on tape.
We're live on tape.
Do it.
Cool.
Do
Hey
it.
everybody, I'm Sean.
I'm Jen.
We're the Midnight DBAs.
Both of us.
Yes. And welcome to DBAs at Midnight, the only show with fewer calories than the other shows or something.
Yeah, we're actually, no, what this is, it's not a lighter show, it's a... Freddie just very slowly opened a can as if that was going to help instead of instantly farting.
Yeah.
No,
It's better if you crack it fast, because now it doesn't just sound like...
It's better if you crack it fast. That's good advice for all kinds of situations. That's going to be the new challenge, is to get him to laugh out loud during shows.
Yeah.
But
oh, I don't pay attention.
The new challenge is going to get me to keep my willy in my pants during the shows.
Ooh,
You'd be surprised how much editing we do.
oh, we may have a bonus round.
Hey, dude, that's my keyboard over there.
Okay, hilarity has ensued already.
Don't spit up on Adobe.
So we are actually speaking to you from the distant past.
Yes, yes.
Because we are pre-taping this show.
Hey, Sean, 10 minutes from now. Yes, Sean, from 10 minutes ago.
So that's actually, neither one of those is accurate, pre-taping. Because we're taping now.
Yes.
And there's no tape.
Yes, exactly.
See what happens when we go without any kind of script or set list. Yeah.
You can't go like pre-magnifying or pre-magneticizing, or what would it be? Pre-laying down the bits.
Pre-digitizing?
Pre-laying pipe. Oh, sorry. I got off on the wrong tangent.
Pre-laying pipe. I
Dude,
like it.
close the other box. That's what she said.
So, got anything? We actually didn't prepare for this at all. We specifically said.
Okay, so
prepare.
what's going on here
What's going on here?
is that
Oh yeah, we should say. Oh crap! I'm sorry.
Madame Cornhole here is going to Denver tomorrow during our regular filming. So we're filming
My public needs me.
ahead of time so that we can still bring you the same high quality entertainment and tech advice that we do every week.
Every week we are consistent.
Shut
and
up.
nothing. We want to be nothing if not consistent. Anyone?
And-
You're not online.
And
I have to do my thing. I forgot. I haven't looked up the Minions, but we have. It's September 23rd, 2010, and this is
that thing.
season 2, episode 4 already. So
Is it really?
yes, it is.
Cool.
Back to you. I'm
Excellent.
a cornhole. I am not a member, but I have the paraphernalia of the American Cornhole Association.
Yes, you do.
Carry on.
She wears the uniform. So anyway, that's what's going on. She's going to be gone tomorrow, and she wanted to do this whole mix of phone and Skype something or other thing, and I said, good God, no.
And my husband, the SQL Server MVP and technology expert, thought it was too complicated.
No, I didn't say it was too complicated. I said it was dumb.
You're dumb. I'm popping my ears from the nose low.
That's our little love bite. That So, you know, I'm going to jump straight into like a techie kind of thing.
You do
Because it
that.
crossed my mind. It happened to me just today. And I'm not going to call it a rant because there's nothing to rant on, but it's just a semi-interesting story that Freddie will certainly find amusing. So we've been speccing a new server.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for this project that's been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's actually the one that we ended up splitting down the middle with the Oracle people.
Okay.
Remember the whole fight that's been going on for weeks?
Yeah.
So, you know, they divided the baby down the middle, and half of it's going to be done in Oracle. Right? So anyway, that's
king
beside the
ever.
point. So I turned in the server spec, right? They're going to do a VM server. And I said we need like, we need a 64-bit OS, 4 gigs of RAM, 140 gig hard drive for the data, and then like 20 or I think I said like 20 gigs for the log, right? And so I said this is the box we need, 2 CPUs. So I get a call from the NT guy who's going to be putting it together. No, I get an email from him that says, I just got your server spec. Call me. I'd like to see if we can negotiate.
You're asking for a bribe?
How do you negotiate requirements? Right? And I called him a couple
Well,
minutes
that's
later.
not actually a silly question.
Reluctantly, I called him a couple minutes later, right? Because I was like, oh, God, I want to have this talk. he's a nice guy. I got no problems with him, but I don't like having these talks, right? It's just. So I got on the phone, and instantly he's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? I wanted to talk to you about the server thing." I said, "Yeah, I know. I can't wait to hear how this comes out because I don't know how you negotiate requirements. So I really want to see how this comes out, right? Because I mean, you know, a requirement is a requirement, right? It's like you buy a new car. Well, what kind of gas does it take? Unleaded. I'd like to negotiate that. It's what it runs on, all right? How do you negotiate that? It's what it runs on. So, do I have to have those black things around my wheels, or?
Are you a car racist?
Yes, I am.
I was gonna go there. Yeah.
Nice green walls.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
It's two. Write those down.
Though it not be written down.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the whole point was he said, well, you know, I want to negotiate this and see if I can, you know, basically get you down. I'm trying really hard not to say what I ordinarily say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I know what you say.
Yes.
He says things.
I say things. But anyway, so what he wanted was to take it down to
Funky Town?
2 gigs.
Damn.
And I was like, it needs 4. Well, you see, the problem is everybody always says that they need this, but they hardly ever use it. And I was like, yeah, but we're talking about a website and a SQL box on the same box, plus the OS. And even in 32-bit, the OS wants 2 gigs to begin with, to start with, right? So
Netbooks come with 2 gigs now.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, why are you being chintzy?
Well, I mean, I got to get there back a little bit because you're putting all these VMs on a thing and on a server, and you want to be able to fit more VMs on there.
Mm.
So you want to limit the stuff as much as possible, right? But I said, you know, for the longest time, NT has wanted, you know, 2 gigs right off the bat. It'll take less, but it wants 2 gigs. So if you're only putting 2 gigs on there, that means it's going to take a gig, and SQL and IIS are going to have to fight over the next gig, or they're going to fight over the next gig and a half, and you're going to starve the OS. Bad juju, right?
Did he see the light?
Oh yeah, easily. He was like, okay, well I can see it needs 4 gigs.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's just, wow, right? So. And oddly enough, he didn't try to get me down on CPU though. I was really surprised. I figured he'd say, "Well, can I go down to 1?" But I guess when
they got a special deal from the guy, so
yeah, exactly.
Just...
I guess when he heard that it was going to be 2 apps on there plus the OS, I was like, "Well, 2 CPU, yeah, you kind of gotta have that, right?" I mean, yeah, you can just work that CPU to death, right? But anyway, it's an interesting thing when you start looking at requirements because. People do way over spec boxes, and that's one thing that I've been fighting here is not only fighting the over specking of boxes because people say, well, I need, 27,000 gigs of RAM, and I'm like, well, what does this app do? Oh, well, it monitors, the intake of this, and I'm like, and how popular is that? Oh no, we've only got a couple things that use it. How many concurrent users are you gonna have? Oh God,
it's just me and Bob.
Yeah, right. It's just 5 people in the department, and only one of us is probably ever going to be on at one time, and only a couple times a day. Then why the hell do you need like 40 gigs of RAM for this? I mean,
we'll put that under the heading of say user education, and I got one.
Look, I'll put the app on my Droid, okay?
Yeah, no kidding.
I'll run it from this, user education. I'm kind of running into this sort of thing at my work, not with specking boxes because we don't buy anything new.
We don't spec boxes. We just.
But the other day, I head out early. I actually work part time, which is a really sweet gig, so that I can pick the kids up on time and all that. And I got an email when I was heading out one day that said, "I need this and this and this, and I need it by tomorrow." And I went, I was supposed to be off the next day. I said, well, I'll take a look at it tonight. I'm just sort of in the habit now of well, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. The boss writes back and says, I told her that putting in a ticket half an hour before we shut down for the day is ridiculous and thing. So first off, props to my boss who doesn't watch this.
No kidding.
Yeah, I've never had a boss do that. But yeah, he
Don't watch, dude. You'll be smarter.
but yeah, he
Talking to you.
came right back. And, he came right back and made sure that he set her straight and that we got more requirements and all that. And I was like, well done, thank you very much. It's so rare that you get to actually praise somebody.
Yeah.
So
I had another incident today with another group / vendor. We're doing a refresh. We're in the middle of this big refresh thing right now. We're taking all of our server refresh.
you've
Right?
been
We're
looking
taking,
pretty refreshed.
yeah, we're taking all of our really old servers and upgrading the hardware, right? So there's one app going from one server to a new server, and I'm looking at it, and it's got a requirement of SQL 2K, and I'm like, really, guys?
Is that generic, like meaning the entire decade, so I can just pick? Or
Yeah, I know, right?
Sequel to something surprising.
And of course, I was told specifically by the vendor that it had to be 2K because their app didn't support SQL 2003. So
Well,
Well,
automatically, I was dealing with brain surgeons.
with brain surgery.
Actually, I probably was. So that is another battle altogether, right? So we'll get to that maybe today, maybe some other time. But the requirements part, I started asking our app guy.
Was the RAM specified in megabytes?
Yeah, I know. I started asking our app guy why it had to be clustered. I said, well, what's driving this cluster? Because we cluster everything. I mean, we've got so many clusters in my shop.
Define
It's
what you mean by that.
And yeah, I know, right? And I'm starting to be relatively convinced that we don't need most of them.
Yeah.
They
Because it's just SOP now. Well,
Yeah,
you know,
well,
let's get a computer.
okay, like, and I'll get back to the story again in a minute, but like I had the same thing happen to me earlier this week. One of the help desk guys comes up. They've got this new alerting system that takes a database and they want to put it up on a cluster. And he goes, well, you know, I want to know, you know, what the requirements are for putting this, for clustering this. And I said, well, is it really? I said, what's your uptime like? I mean, you know, well, it's just a P1 outage alerting system. If you know, it won't be used much, but when it does, right, it'll need to really be up. And I said, so what's your downtime? What kind of downtime can you afford on this? He goes, oh, well, you know, we don't want it to be down for like 2 weeks, but it could be down for a week at a time if it had to. And I'm like, then why do you need a cluster, right? Well, for performance.
Oh, I see.
so it's a Beowulf cluster.
So we've got this misconception at my company that is driving a lot of these requirements, and I'm as cool as it is to cluster, right? And I'm becoming quite the clustering guy, right?
Yeah, sure.
I feel the need.
I actually just got a text that's going to be my next thing.
Okay.
Carry on.
I feel the need to start putting a stop to some of this because they're needless clusters. So back to the original story, I asked this guy, what's driving the requirements for this cluster, right? He says, well, you have to ask the server team that. I said, well, I could ask the server team, but they usually just do what they're told, right, like we do, right, which is what I'm trying to stop. But they usually just do what they're told. You say you need a cluster, they go, I don't care, they put in a cluster, right?
We like clusters.
Yeah. And you figure we'd be better at it. But, again, another story. And he said, okay, well, and I said, it's usually the app team that drives that, you know. And he says, oh, okay, so I need to put you on the phone with the vendor. And I said, well, it's not the vendor that drives that. The vendor isn't driving our HA needs. The vendor may support clustering, but since
they're
we're
not
just
gonna
talking about the
require
database,
it.
but they're not going to require it, right? And he said, well, the vendor is doing all the support for this, so they are the ones that you have to talk to because they're the ones supporting this. We do a lot of that. We're trying to get out of the habit of having vendors as SAs on our boxes and just doing all of the database support and whatnot. So
Doesn't that violate something or other? It's got to, doesn't it?
anyway,
Okay.
there
I didn't
are.
say nothing.
But anyway, so I said, well, again, the vendor isn't going to define our HA requirements. Who is the app person that, you know, who's in charge of this
Well,
on
that'd be
our
me.
side that's guiding this and saying that they need a cluster? Because I want to know what the requirements are for this. Why does it have to be a cluster? What are you trying to protect against? So I suspect that's call I'm going to have to take with the vendor probably tomorrow-ish. You can see how much I'm looking forward to it, right?
Absolutely. Good times. It's a good thing you've got a good lunch packed up.
Yeah. Oh, God. It's actually not bad.
No, it's not.
But even for, even for HA, a lot of times these days we can sustain a much cheaper solution in something like mirroring, right?
It's nice. It's
No,
peppermint
okay,
tea.
no, no, because it'll ruin my tea.
Oh, fair enough.
But mirroring is a much cheaper HA solution, right? Because you don't have to have everything on the same disk, and you can disperse them easier, and so on. So,
And if you need any help on mirroring, you should check out Robert L. Davis and Ken Simmons' mirroring book.
that's not officially sanctioned by Midnight DBAs, by the way. I haven't read this one yet, so
I've been reading it. I like it.
okay.
I like it quite well.
Actually,
But,
I take that back. I will give mad props to Ken.
Yeah, that
Because-
other schmuck. Who cares?
No.
Why?
Well, because I know Ken, and because I emailed him a question about something in his book, and he emailed me back. He's like me. He was right on it. We had like a five or six email exchange, and he answered a question. I don't remember if it was something in the book, maybe. But anyway, I sent him a mirroring question, and he right away just went, just bam, like that. So
I'm not sure it's picking up his last name with the publisher in the.
Yeah, sorry. It's A Press, Robert L. Davis, and Ken Simmons, ProSQL Server, 2008 mirroring. I'm going to put it in the show notes too.
yeah.
But that's
yeah.
something that's new for me, but I've now finally made it a second nature. I had a problem with
Because you're in the club.
yeah, with I can't remember, is it SIS or SRS that Stacy Misner does? I've got her book on my desk. I just talked to her online. Anyway, it's her SRS book. That's what it is. And I had some problem or another, and I'm like, gosh, I can't find anything online about it. Wait a minute, I'll email her. And she came right back with whatever the answer was.
Yeah,
I
I've been
remember the
bugging the
issue.
shit out of Alan lately.
Alan Hurt?
Yeah. I mean, he and I go a few years back anyway, right? We always meet up at the conferences, and we've been kind of like the redheaded stepchildren of the whole group, because we're the ones that are relatively unpopular because we speak our minds very freely to Microsoft and very freely to other people.
Yeah, I'm not tilting my head at you. I'm
Yeah.
wondering about Alan.
Yeah.
Oh, really? There's another schmuck too?
Yeah. Well, and Denny's becoming that way too. Denny's very outspoken. but
Yes, he is.
Denny's outspoken in a more personal. It's becoming.
Then he actually flips them the bird when he says
It's
something.
becoming more in vogue to be like that. I think.
You're a trendsetter.
Maybe.
Ahead of your time.
But Alan, and we are still talking about Alan Hurt from the clustering book that I talked about a couple weeks ago.
It was last week.
Was it really?
No, it was 2 weeks ago. You're right.
So anyway,
I'll die.
I've been writing him some clustering questions because I've been having some little nuance trouble, right? And man, that's one thing I've always loved about Alan, is that boy is just on it. I mean, he was sitting in the airport today on his BlackBerry sending me relatively long emails and answer, right? It's just, wow. Well, maybe he was on his laptop. I'm assuming he was on his thing because he was in the airport, but he could have been on his laptop. But yeah, that's one thing that's really cool, is making these contacts. Get on Twitter, get on something, and make these contacts.
Get in
These
the
guys,
club. It's so easy.
These guys, man, Ken Simmons, these guys are very approachable, man. I mean, it's not like, okay, I wrote a book, so all of a sudden, my wife, has to touch my hand with a white glove and stuff like that, right? I mean, it's...
That would be a really weird requirement.
Mm-hmm.
But,
You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, even guys from the old days, I say from the old days because he's still around, Paul Sheriff. You remember the name Paul Sheriff? He did the all of those VB courses way back in the early '90s, in the mid '90s and late '90s, and what's his name? He was the sysinternals guy with Paul Rusinovich. Not Paul Rusinovich. It's
moment of silence.
is it Mike Rusinovich? Anyway,
We'll look it up.
with Rusinovich, dude, I'm sorry, man. Your name it's right there.
Rachmaninoff.
But we're throwing around so many names right now, right? But
Blagojevich.
anyway, what's his name? Ken Getz. I think it's Ken Getz.
You're killing me, dude.
That started the whole sysinternals thing with him before he went on to be like a master evangelist, technical fellow with Microsoft. He's like one of the big tech architects for Windows now, right? I emailed him, and I even emailed Rasinovich a few times, and he just, within just a couple of hours, boom, there's an answer right there. I mean,
That's good stuff.
the guys are very approachable.
So, speaking about being approachable,
How you doing?
I told you a little bit about this. I don't think I've told you, Freddie, and you, the people watching at home, about this. I met a lady, and she just actually signed up for the groupies.
Did you say a metal lady?
I met a lady.
Oh, met a
You're
lady.
worse than
I was with
him.
no, I was with him. I was
Okay.
like metal. Meta lady? Is she about a lady?
No, she's not a real lady. She's just sort of.
Okay.
But no, I met
I was
a
really
lady.
trying to work that out, man.
See, you get on to me when I over-enunciate. You get on to me when I spell my word together.
No, because when you get around the boys and around Sanjay, you turn into Tonto.
I've actually been calling her Chin-Li on the blog.
Why?
I don't know. She's not my kid. No, it's a public thing. I don't know.
Chin-Li.
Well, Chun-Li, because it's from Street Fighter 2. Did you know about Street Fighter 2?
A little bit.
Yeah, it's
Not,
like-
I wasn't into it like a lot of other people were.
I was pretty good at it, actually. Anyway, so I met this lady, unrelated to any of this, at the user group meeting, and she came up and told me her story and asked a question. The long and short of it, and more came out as we talked some more, but essentially she's got a 1-billion-row table that there's some processing that needs to be done on it, and her boss is absolutely insisting that it be done in C#, the mathematical processing. And she said, do you think that that's something that's okay? And I said, no, my God. By the horrified look on my face, she almost didn't finish her question. And I was like, no, I mean, this is something...
Hold on. No, man.
No.
No.
I believe you get your ass kicked doing something like that, man. I might have to write that down.
You need Fortran sharp for math.
Fortran sharp for math.
So her boss.
Her boss heard from somebody else that C#
you told me
was
about-
faster at processing rows and doing mathematics on it than SQL. And I said, well, not when it's essentially going through and doing it in a cursor and passing it all over the network or whatever to the processing and then back again. And so, no, not for 1 billion rows. My God, no. She says, well, it's...
We should print it up, send it over to Stephen Hawking, have him mail it back.
Absolutely.
That is accurate.
That is actually a lot faster.
So C#, if it's a decent amount of math,
Yeah.
if it's basically fairly simple math, you're going to find probably very little difference, right? But if it's fairly involved math, or at least long, then something like a C# function that you call within the query can process it much faster, because you'll take a small hit once for the function to get loaded, but once it's loaded, and that's one of the reasons why you use CLR functions, is because string parsing and math are faster in .NET, and if it's long enough to make it worth your while, yeah, I mean it can outperform, especially on that number of rows.
The way that it was put to me, it sounded like it was going to actually, the entire thing be essentially exported and processed row by row.
Right.
That's, that's
Right.
a
Well, and
huge-
that's wrong, right? I mean, you leave all that processing where it belongs.
Yeah, if at all possible, it should be done natively and in row set processing.
Okay, so
now using a calling from the CLI, I hadn't even thought about that. You can tell I'd never even thought about it.
now there's a couple things that you want to get into here, right? Are we clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Then I don't have to say anything.
Fair enough.
Um,
What do you want to talk about?
assuming that this data is going to have something done with it, right? If it's just processing to be put in the database and it's already in the database, right? You're just taking it out and putting it into C# and then putting it back. You'll never get it done. You're pushing basically.
Well, that's exactly the scenario we're talking
You're
about.
pushing basically 2 million rows, right?
Billion.
Billion. You're pushing 2 billion rows because you got to get it out and then you got to get it back, right? So that round trip makes it 10 billion rows. There's no way you're going to ship that to a front end. You're not going to ship 1 billion rows to a website, right? You couldn't. I mean, it's not even possible. The page that would hold that would take hours to load. And then that's even once it's built, right? Because the way that works,
But there's more.
it's gonna build the page, it's gonna take that page, and it's gonna push the entire thing to the client, then it's gonna present it. And to push that much data, it's just
No, I think it's
Yeah.
internal database processing that she's talking about, not necessarily
Yeah, it'll never.
processing a billion rows and then pushing
It'll
all that
never
out to a
finish.
PDF. That's kind of what I said, and it was funny the way it unraveled because she said 1 billion rows, and I was like, wow, that's a decent sized table, and then she said sheet sharp, and I went, ugh. And then and so we started talking about it, and she sort of mentioned how she was kind of an accidental DBA. I'm like, wow, really, an accidental DBA in charge of a database that big? And I started asking her about her backup strategy and her are you using partitioning and so forth, and she's kind of got more and more shy with each one, and I'm like, no, I'm not judging. I've been in those shops. It's okay. But I was about panicked when she said that they didn't really have a backup routine going. The last one they took was like 2 weeks ago, until we clarified that this was conglomerated data from other sources, so it's not as if it
It's
couldn't
easily
be
rebuilt. Right.
I'm like, okay, then
Yeah.
take it off level where
It was like that at FA. I mean, we had the warehouse and we had the backups and we took backups every day, but the warehouse
what it came
was
from.
almost fully loaded every night. So why were we doing backups? I mean, because there were portions of it that we weren't loading. But if the backups failed, then we'll just wait till tonight and just reload the entire warehouse, and it'll take a long time. But it's not like we couldn't recreate every single piece of data in there.
It was just kind of a fun conversation because the way it unraveled. It was just
Yeah.
one thing after another after another. I'm like, oh my god, practically weeping on the floor. So
My word. I
Well,
thought my
I-
shoes were getting a little wet. I'm a little sleepy.
No
You
response to
can
that?
see my eyes are just kind of...
He
I
needs his
understand.
dip tip, huh?
there's another one. Needs dip tip. It's a little angel. It's a little angel trick from heaven. What do you want to talk about now? You want to talk about something non-techy?
Was it Mark Rusinovich?
Yeah, Mark. Sorry, Mark, dude, I'm so sleepy.
Got the Googles.
It's
right
not
there.
like I don't know your name, bud. I do. I've got your book. I've got your book over there. I've got your email in my box just to prove to people that I know you. You're one of the names I drop when I drop names.
So this week, a guy on Twitter, and I never bother to look up real names, unfortunately, but it's Mvelic, Mvelic, essentially asked the question that's been coming around occasionally. So how do I get into this speaking and blogging thing? And something about the way that he asked, what he said was something to the effect
Get
of,
the book and read it.
what he essentially said was how do I break into the speaker circuit? I'm like, oh dude, there's no circuit. That's what I'm trying to tell people. There's not a circuit. There's, you're either willing to stand up and tell people what you know or you're not.
Don't let this happen to you.
I love, cornhole.
His name is apparently Matthew Villick, so he's got a very cryptic...
Matt Velick, that's right. I believe he was one of the winners of the Sequel Cruise.
Really?
I believe he was.
Wow.
So anyway, I wrote a blog, and then like 3 other people wrote blogs pointing back to mine, and it was all this really big conversation. So I want to open up the floor on speaking and mentoring and such like. The question I posed to our groupies was, if all of us are spending all of our time becoming speakers and encouraging others to become bloggers and speakers, are we going to wind up with too many?
No.
Tell me why. See, this is the start of the conversation. Now you talk.
Oh, I have to actually expand on that? God,
Well, do you have an opinion?
For some reason, I have crashed.
I can see that.
Wow.
It's because there's no one actually putting their energy through the internets onto you. You don't have an active audience, and so you're just...
Who cares? No, I mean, no, it's not.
Speak to the future.
I've thought of that a few times myself, going, when I always encourage people to speak, to get involved, I start...
Go on.
A small part of me wants to say, shut up. Keep all the stuff to yourself, right? But no, I mean, everybody's not cut out for it. I mean, that's all there is to it. And everybody isn't going to be good enough to do it, and everybody can't do everything, and
it takes time.
oddly enough, everybody isn't going to be chosen to speak at PASS, so...
Oh, I see. We're getting the triple Z formation snap back there from Freddie.
But no, I mean, it's not for everybody. I mean, like my other DBA at work, when I first got there, I said, we're all going to help each other. We're all going to, present classes, right? And we're all going to, do the thing. And he specifically said, no, I don't want to teach anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not the kind of guy who's going to get up there and teach something, right? So...
That's essentially what I wrote in my blog. Is it's not having to be someone special, but it's a matter of you have to be willing to put a little time in, be willing to stand up in front of people and talk about something and be able to swallow the fear that comes at that time.
Well,
as
and there's
best you
also
can.
this misconception that comes with speaking and even writing, right? That people think that people who speak and write are just sitting there. They just sit down one day and just tack, 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 tack. And they don't realize that guys that write these books that have these intricate details of how things work, these guys don't know that stuff. They're going to the people at Microsoft that wrote it and they're asking questions. I mean, they use those resources all the time. I used to, because...
I wrote the book so that I could go back and reference the book.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard you learn more teaching because you have to get your facts straight first. So it's like you investigate stuff.
And
No,
questions.
you learn more teaching exactly because of the questions.
In questions, and you try to anticipate the questions and then go, okay, well, and boy, I didn't do
But
that
you
very well
can't.
this last time.
Yeah.
But,
But you can't anticipate the questions.
you
right?
can
I
anticipate
mean,
some of them.
some, but some of the stuff people come up and ask you, you're just like, wow, I never even thought of that. Let me think about it, right? I mean,
But I just finished a book by
hurry up
Stephen.
because I wasn't finished.
Go ahead.
No, hurry up because I wasn't finished.
Just finished a book by Stephen King, and even he was like thanking his editor about how much the editor really made the book come together and,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
pacing and so forth. And Stephen King writes like 20 books a year for the last 40 years.
Okay.
Well, fucking down.
No, but I used to get that all the time, and I get it occasionally still, because I write for magazines, and they think that, oh my God,
You've just got
ooh.
that floating in your head.
Yeah, they think, but they don't see, like you do, the weeks of study and the weeks of practice and getting your scripts down and go, I don't even know. I mean, there have been times when I've pitched stories that I didn't begin to know how to do what I was pitching, and they said, okay, go for it. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now I got to go figure out how to do this,
I
right?
didn't think they'd say yes.
Yeah, no kidding. It sounded like a good idea to me, but you usually say no. And then and the same thing. I mean, my editor at InfoWorld has always been phenomenal. I mean, he is such
He's
a
dude.
phenomenal editor. Big shout out to Doug Dingley at InfoWorld. Party on, dude. But he's a phenomenal editor, and he always takes the shit I turn in and the techno babble and turns it into an actual story.
And molds it into
And-
something pretty.
Yeah, I mean, he turns it into a real story. I mean, when people go, my God, that was such a brilliant story, and I think, yeah, you should have seen you should have seen what I turned in. It was nothing like this. I mean, he's a beautiful editor, and it's true. When you get a good editor, they can make anybody look good. He's like our high-tech filter for the singers, right? I mean, anybody can go into a studio
Filter,
and sound
reverb.
good, right? You get one of those special filters that they put across there, and it's like,
So, speaking of turning in shit and making it into something, you remember that Mythbusters where they polished shit?
Yes, I do. I love that.
Wasn't that interesting?
It was beautiful.
That was really weird. They actually, it's apparently a saying or a myth or something that you can't polish shit. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
There's a special method this guy has for taking clods of dirt and turning them into, just with his hands. Nothing special about it. Until it's a perfectly spherical, shiny, polished ball. And they did that with dung. And it was just so cool. And they're just sitting there
how
going,
they finally got the final
Wow.
finish on it. But they did.
it was
they,
completely with their hands, I remember. One of them did that and one of them did
I
something
remember they
else.
tried different types. They tried like
Different
lime
kinds of-
and
Yeah, and like I think the meat eater dung wasn't as well formed for it or something, and it wound up being
don't
goat
remember.
dung that was really the best for it.
I don't remember.
I tell you what, those guys have interesting lives.
At
I mean,
least.
interesting jobs, anyway.
At least.
That's really all I had on
I
that.
can't remember if I petered out on the last conversation or not.
Um,
But I think I was going. I think I was going with. So many people won't try to speak and they won't try to do things because they see all of our finished products and they assume that we're way up here. And like I said, they think we're all just sitting down just typing. I think I'll write something on the internals of right, and they don't see all the stuff that we do behind the scenes. I mean, even Kalen, goes to the guys at Microsoft and says, "How does this work?" I mean, right? I mean, everybody does it.
so the guys at Microsoft could write that stuff.
Yeah. Well, even they have to go check the code, right? They don't memorize it all. But people aren't going to write because they, it's like the
Or
guys. It's like the guys in Monsters Inc. Guys,
Yes.
call me Sully. I don't think so. Right?
Another one.
And it's just like that. I mean, when I've approached people, when people have asked me about speaking, and I've approached them and I've said, well, why don't you do it? Why don't you get involved? Oh, no, I don't know nearly enough.
I could
don't have
never do
anything
that.
to say. Yeah, I could.
That's
never
what
do
makes
that.
me nervous, man.
Good.
I get to speak at PASS and all that, and just by that, people are going to be all like, "Oh, you know, no."
Yeah.
Talk to him.
Well, it automatically puts you up here because all they see is the finished product. I mean, what they don't see is when you're in the in crowd, when you know the guys, that they're scrambling. They don't see Alan White scrambling 35 minutes before his presentation to find somebody, to find a guru in PowerShell to show him, to help him finish up the script he should have had finished weeks ago.
But I tell you what,
You know?
the more you're in the club and the more you relate to those people and talk to them about how scared shitless they are right before a presentation and how, you know, they put this off to the last minute and, oh my God, I need to review my slides or whatever, the more that kind of, it doesn't take them down really, but it makes them more approachable. It makes them more human.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. You know, Grant Fritchie, Lewis Davidson, and a bunch of guys were talking about that at 24 Hours of Pass, and I'm like,
Right.
okay, good.
Yeah, well, and it not only makes them more approachable, but I mean, it makes your process, because you sit there and go, well, I have to do all of this and look at Grant. Well, again, you're seeing his finished product. If you lived with Grant, you would see him writing a book for a year and looking stuff up and writing people at Microsoft and asking Itzik this and asking Tom and asking Paul this and asking Kimberly that and doing the thing, right? And researching, writing scripts that don't work and doing. I mean, you would see all of this and go, wow.
So
You're not really any better than we are. You're just plugging it harder to,
He works harder than we do.
right? I mean, really. I mean,
So moral is, the more you know about the behind the scenes stuff, the better off you are.
the less impressive we become, the more attainable it is, right? I mean,
Yeah. I'm not sure about less impressive because once you realize the shift changes from, wow, what a mega genius, you know, I know things about geniuses.
A metal genius?
I'm a metal genius. Metal genius? Less about what a genius
Spit
you
it
are.
out, man.
I can't help it. I'm tumbling downhill now. What a genius you are, and more about the work that you put into it. There, I got it out.
right. Yeah, I mean, it's now the true cream of the crop turns out to not be the guys who are the smartest or the best at their jobs, but the guys who can just muscle through the work and actually get it done. Right? I mean, because it takes a lot of dedication.
Yeah, something you said rang a bell.
Because this isn't even a thick book, right? But it takes a lot to put something like this together, right?
One of the books that came out really recently, I went and looked at the dedication. Which one was it?
I remember you showed that to me.
Where one of the authors... No, I'm combining two different things, but this was actually like a blog. One of the guys has a book out, and it said, you know, this book, which was almost Exhibit A in my divorce hearing, and I was like, wow. And you know, I'm sure he's not kidding, is the thing. I bet it's hard.
He may be
slightly
slightly exaggerating.
Well,
but yeah,
but it's really hard on a marriage to put that much work in to have to neglect and, you know.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know.
I mean, you just asked Tom about him, you know, if you could ever find him, about writing his book all those years ago, but still. And I mean, it's a year out of your life, year and a half out of your life, right? I mean, it's, ask anybody and they're just like, oh, God, a book, You know, I mean, it's nice to say I wrote a book, but sitting down to write a book, I mean, probably every DBA who's been in it for 5 or 6 years has sat down to write a book at one point. I'm actually the only one who hasn't.
Yeah, you're sort of steadfastly refusing.
Yeah, well.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well then.
But I'm getting closer to a PowerShell approach that nobody's taking.
Yeah. I rubbed my eyes at you.
Yeah, I know. See, I'm that way too. How long have we been going? 7 minutes.
Yeah. 39 minutes.
Oh, good.
Really? That's a lot further. Oh, wow. This is a beating for you, isn't it? Oh, God.
It's not that bad. First, I just crashed, man. I can barely hold my eyes open. I'm just doing this.
Well, fine then. We'll just all die.
Can I be one of all of us?
I made a new shirt and a new sticker.
Yes, you did. Have
And
I
I
seen the
like
sticker?
them. It's the nerd slap fight.
Oh, I see.
It's
No,
two
you
little
haven't.
stick figures going like
You
that.
haven't sent me that yet.
Can you get it like where you change the ankle and their arms move?
Ooh, that would be so cool. No, I can't do that.
Holographic.
Oh, yeah. But the other one is, and this was brand new, Buck Woody tweeted today, he said the best comment he'd ever seen in code was, start comment, there be dragons here, end comment. And I was just absolutely inspired. I had to make the shirt right then, so I took a big swath of code as a grayed out background, and then just a big comment, there be dragons here. Or here there be dragons.
Did he like it?
Not sure. I don't remember if he commented on it or not.
Okay.
Wow, that is...
I've heard some pretty horrendous things about the comments in the code in SQL. That Ken used to tell me some stories about the
I
comments.
actually found some stuff in some SPs for business objects that came from the source, not from us. And I was just like, wow, just really, really super informal. This is the thing, and this really needs to be changed later and thing. I'm like, wow, whoops.
No, I'm talking about Ken used to
Swearing.
Ken used to like give me some really good stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised what's in the comments, man. He's like, this was written. I wrote this like this because the asshole down the hall refused to give me the thing, so I had to do this instead. I mean, stuff like that, right? I mean, there's some really, really good comments in some of the
I
SQL.
met some of the SQL team. I can believe it.
So anyway, it's hilarious.
What are you most looking forward to out of PASS this year, specifically?
Not worrying about putting my session together.
Oh, Jesus, man, I'm being serious. This is... We hardly even, we do go for the sessions.
You
but...
want to know one of the things I'm really looking forward to the most?
No, I was actually hoping you'd lie.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
let me think. These little...
I know, those are so cute. I wanted to show me how to make those.
Yeah.
Here, give me the good one. We've been finding these. Here, I'll show one camera and then the other.
I'm tired of you saying that to me.
These little paper stars, little puffy stars, all over the place. I love it.
Anyway.
So what are you looking forward to?
I don't know if I can officially announce it yet. The talk that we've got
There is
scheduled.
a talk
the
that
big
we have
interview that
scheduled.
we've got scheduled.
I am very excited about that talk too.
Yeah.
Yes,
I honestly hope it goes a couple hours.
That's what she said.
Oh, sure. None of mine get through. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to talking to Grant again, because Grant always gives good talk.
He does.
The one times we've had him.
Absolutely. And he's looking forward to it too.
Oh, good. I'd like to. We may get chicken in on
Chicken and Denny again. That was
chicken
a good
and
vibe.
Denny. That was a good one. Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could have gotten Denny. Wish I could have had Denny alone when we were in Red Stick, but it just, man, we tried and it just didn't work out.
Well, sometimes you're just not ready.
Yeah.
The Mr. Denny on
Mr.
Twitter?
Denny.
Yeah.
I watched his
He had a
presentation
session today.
Yeah.
What was it on? I
It
completely
was
missed it.
virtual machines, SQL Server and virtual machines.
Huh.
He covered ESX Server and Hyper-V.
Huh.
And
Well,
then vSphere, I guess, is the new version of ESX Server. So, cool stuff.
wicked cool.
Jesus, what is it, like the pink halter top of sequel? Come on, Denny, man up now. Jeez, man.
You okay?
Yeah, well,
Um,
Pansy ESX.
so everyone go and check out Denny's blog. That's Denny Cherry. Do a search for Denny Cherry sequel and you'll find his blog. I don't know where it is.
He's really not Jerry.
But he's got
I'll do it.
blue tits.
Yes, he does. He has blue tits.
Used to.
He doesn't anymore.
I know. I saw him at Tech Ed. When he saw me at Tech Ed, it was when I was sick, and he was so sympathetic. I was coming outside to barf, and he was like, "Oh man, you look like hell." Thanks, Den. I know.
You look like a fucking...
I saw him again later, and he's like, "Oh, you're looking better." Thank you again.
Somehow you're not.
No, he's a cool dude.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, we hung out almost constantly in Red Stick. We were just...
Oh, that's so cute.
We were at the experts table together.
Which is also very cute. Pardon us for a moment while we confer. I see. Absolutely.
Yeah, I said...
Absolutely.
I don't think so.
So-
That wasn't about you, Denny.
No. Besides the super secret ninja talk and you getting to spend a load of time with Denny, anything, ow.
That hurt me.
Ow, that wouldn't have hurt, but my arm was braced. And so it didn't go anywhere. Okay.
I even hit you here.
Yeah, right on the bone.
Your whole arm is bone.
Kiss it. So funny. Every single time Okay, not every single time, but oftentimes these days, the Chun-Li, as I'm going by, I'll carry the boys or something. She's like, "Oh, you're so strong," and I'm like, "Okay." Yeah, the other day at the dinner table, she feels my arm, and she's like, she felt her own arms.
She's always feeling my arms.
Well, you know.
She was feeling my forearms the other day.
Well, you've got big arms.
No, I don't, not really. But she was over here going. Whatever, dude. Just because you're comparing them to you doesn't mean.
Here, show them your guns, baby.
Oh my God.
See, look, you've got a little muscle and everything.
Oh, look, a little tiny guy right there.
It's not tiny.
You said, look, you got a little muscle right there. So I'm assuming that's.
I started to say little, and I stopped. And I was being
No,
cute.
you actually did say little.
Isn't this fun? When I did the presentation at the NT7 meeting, you argued with me about something while I was up there teaching. Well, you asked a question and then said that didn't make any sense, and we had to go back and forth for a while and explain. No, that's
and you said what I said was, I said, no, you said this. It's on tape. Rewind it.
That's one of the absolute best parts of our relationship is arguing about what I did and didn't say. But yeah, explain what I meant, and at the end, people were like, "That was the best part of watching you guys argue." I'm like, "Oh, fucking thanks, appreciate that. If you like that, you'd like the web show."
Come watch.
I don't know that they said it was the best part, but it made for a good story.
Yeah, I was gonna ask because you didn't. Yeah, after that meeting, you were over there like having fun with somebody, talking about cool stuff, and I was over there, and so was Tim. I heard Tim mention my name like 5 times over there talking to a group of guys, and I'm like, and I was over here giving tech support to large process tech support over here. You know, the guy comes up, oh well, I've got this thing, it's diagramming this thing out here, Sean. I'm like,
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all I have on that.
Yeah, I mentioned your name a couple times.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you wear? You mentioned my name. What did you wear?
Never mind. There's another one.
So, you're going to Denver tomorrow morning.
And I'm taking my bunny girl.
And I'm making you take the bunny girl so you don't meet any other guys.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
That's why you haven't warned me not to sleep with anyone. Okay, because I got a chaperone. Every trip I go on, he's like, don't sleep with anybody. I'm like, okay.
Don't stay awake with anybody either.
But yeah, taking a bunny girl, and she's finally perked up about the trip.
You gotta give me credit, though. I mean, you gotta get my back, though. Everywhere I go, Jen's not here. Oh, I mean, and even the guys. Oh yeah, she's hot, man.
Oh, now that's something different. That's one person.
That's one person.
Behaving
That's one
inappropriately.
person doing that. But there are other people talking about how cute you are. They're just being a lot more tactful.
Well, I'll say this.
So I'm gonna say that
This is not an insult. Go ahead.
you got to get my back, right? Because everybody is more gladderly when you're there, and everybody does agree that you're a cutie.
Okay. But now this is not at all an insult. It's an insert.
This is not an insert to anybody.
Select star where.
Is it metal?
Yes, it's metal. This is not at all an insult to the other sequel ladies out there. It's just that there are so few of us, it's not at all difficult to be the prettiest girl in the room at a sequel event.
Sure.
Because I'm like the only one.
Who are the cute girls in sequel?
There. I'm not going down that road. Not very far, anyway.
You and your experimental phase.
Let's see. Okay, so the cute girls in sequel.
Jess Borland, I think,
are
is absolutely
you.
adorable.
Jess Borland. Do I know Jess?
Girl Geek on Twitter. She's an SRO school. I don't think we've met her now.
Oh, okay. Jessica Moss.
Okay, yeah.
She's
yeah,
cute.
Yeah. I'd say Blythe, but she's not sequel, and she's not in the past anymore. But
Right.
everybody adored Blythe.
God, she was a doll.
I was not the prettiest girl in the room when Blythe was around.
Blythe was a doll.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not having trouble right now remembering cute girls in sequel.
You just don't know their names.
I just can't remember any girls in sequel right now. My mind was complete blank on girls in sequel, not much less cute. I can't even remember ugly ones.
Well,
I wouldn't mention it if I.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and I'm not going to keep on going listing off people because
Right.
then
Yeah, I'm just
people are going to be
thinking
omitted, and then they're going to be like, "I'm cute." I'm not. So there are more cute
And
girls.
that's when we go.
But my point stands that in a room full of guys, it's not at all difficult to be the cutest girl in the room.
Yeah.
So the
Laura
second.
Rebelke.
The second we have a sequel event at Hooters, all eyes are off of me, because this is how I dress. This is me. So, there you go. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't either. Why are you talking like that?
Why are you talking like that?
I do not understand what you are saying to me. Can you speak more clearly?
No.
Okay.
We watched not a French film, but a film about France today.
Yeah.
It was really super, the segment that I saw was really super awesome because it was an American woman in France narrating the whole thing in French with this deadpan, perfectly straight American accent. So the whole thing,
God, it was horrendous.
you know, instead
Her
of
vocabulary and grammar were great.
were absolutely wonderful, and it was great because they even let her stumble over something and then go back. It wasn't a documentary; it was a put together film.
Yeah, it was an actual movie.
And yeah, and she's, you know, je pensais que the thing is, you're speaking English but using French words. It's cool.
Mais elle a traversé la rue pour
Elle a pensé
prendre
que-
un café dans le magasin là. Je pensais à moi-même, pourquoi suis-je dans Paris? Parce que je suis toute seule.
We get
But see,
it.
I could follow it better.
Exactly.
Oh, she was in heaven.
Yeah, because I got up there and listen, and I could really catch everything she was saying. It really does make a
I
difference.
know quite a few of those words.
Which is why
Taco,
we kind of
burrito.
talked about this before, that they're teaching kids in Australia to speak with what was it, a Chinese accent?
Yeah.
But why, if you speak English?
This can't end well either.
No, if you speak English with a French accent in France, you are more likely to be understood if you talk. No, that was Mexican.
Hey, órale, vato. Hey, waiter. Órale, garçon. Huh?
I'm tired. I'm not going to do it. But anyway.
Puis-je avoir autre café, way?
That's going to
That was
bend my
hard.
head.
That was
Yeah.
very hard.
Now swap it. Now do Spanish in a French accent. I can't wait to hear this.
Hola. Quiero. God, that's hard. Quiero un café. Quiero un café.
No.
Por favor.
No, you can't
it's
do it.
Hard.
You're
it's hard.
just lengthening your
I
vowels
can't-
now.
Well, now.
Just Cheech Marin trying it for
Yeah, now I gotta do it. Now I gotta do it in like Irish. Hola, ¿cómo está?
Russian. Hello.
Hello.
German. Hello.
But no, that was a story that two Chinese girls at work told me that they saw in the
That's
news.
the beginning of a bad joke
I
right
know.
there.
But
Good
they saw in
movie.
the news where Australia is doing so much more commerce with China now, and they're trying to and there's a big thing going on there to teach the Australian kids in school from a very early age to speak English with a Chinese accent, so that they can be better understood, right? And even so that they can understand
Which
the Chinese
would work.
counterpart. But that.
To a degree.
But I told her, I said, "Are you kidding?" I said, "There is no way you could ever get me to do that." She's like, and it never crossed her mind, right? She's like, "What are you talking about? I don't understand. That sounds like such a good idea." I
Don't
said,
do this on film. Yeah, someone's going to clip
Someone's
that.
going to clip that.
And put that as a sound button on a T-shirt. Sean McCown says, "Oh my God!"
But yeah, I am not going to go down that road, right?
It can't end well. That's all.
Yeah.
You know what's
exactly.
interesting to me, and I've been thinking about this some recently, because like, okay, this might take some delicate stepping. It's okay to things that are in vogue. Gay people are in vogue. They're on TV now. Everyone's kind of okay with that. Fat people are in vogue. They're okay. They're on TV now.
I didn't say in vogue. There's a difference between on TV and in vogue.
Well, as far as what's popular subject matter,
I saw a show about Mambla. I wouldn't exactly say
No.
they're in vogue.
I mean, there are actually shows now. I mean, specifically dedicated to fat people, and a lot of them are starting to go into a positive
Yeah,
direction.
they're
I'm
called
not
McDonald's
here.
commercials.
I'm not here to talk about that. I'm talking about race stuff. And I have noticed, as far as television goes, that it's okay to have like Middle Eastern people on, but only as long as they're extremely
Do you know you're
Americanized.
shouting at me?
You were shouting too a minute ago.
Oh my God, my ears are just pounding now.
I was. You were loud.
Okay.
But think about it. We've got one guy on Big Bang Theory, extremely Americanized, and
Hold it. Big Bang Theory. Okay. Yes.
Are you kidding?
Hey, I'm tired and I'm
Yeah,
processing.
fair enough. But thinking about that now, this kind of carries back into the language thing. It is perfectly okay for all of us to sit around here and do a Russian accent, a French accent, a British accent. That's okay. But the second that we start imitating the Chinese accent or Japanese or Middle Eastern or anything that's not basically us, once removed, as far as like the history and stuff goes, then now it's racist and we can't do it.
It depends on how honestly you portray the accent. I think if you portray,
Honestly, you're attempting to portray the
because
accent.
everybody that does a Scottish accent, right, turns into the Lucky Charms guy.
But that's still okay, and nobody looks askance at them. Because you can't be racist against
for the
Scottish
most
people.
part, that's not a very
You can't be
honest
racist against
accent.
Scottish people is the front runner for the title of the show.
I see.
Go ahead.
Metal Scottish people.
Metal Scottish people.
I was gonna say that's the name of my Sheena Easton cover band.
We're at 55 minutes, by the way.
Okay. Racist Scottish people
So,
against Scottish people.
what was I gonna say?
You can't.
But so it depends on how honestly you portray it. I mean, if you go in there with the squinty eyes, no, that's
Scottish people don't look like that.
Yeah, I know, right? Which is what makes it so bad.
Ooh, yes.
But yeah, if you go in there with the squinty eyes and the teeth sticking,
So what would you
that's insulting. That's not
So-
an honest accent.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just even doing the accent itself.
Well, no, if you do it
Because-
in a string of other accents, you say, well, I could say it in Russian, blah, 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 and I could say it in French, blah, 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 I could say it in Spanish, taka, 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 and I could say it in Chinese, and if you do all of them really well, and they're not, and you're not being over exaggeratingly
But-
insulting, right?
But the whole point of you being not offended, but like, oh my God, about the Australian thing, was that they were teaching them to speak with Chinese accents, and that's in a very true vein, in a very sincere vein, and it's still. And I'm not bitching at you about this. It's just not okay.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You even
well,
had to explain it to the girl how that's just not okay, and it's really not. Am I wrong on this?
The gut reaction is no, it's not okay.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
trying
not
to
okay.
explain quite why. It's just not.
It's
because I think it's different. I personally, I think it's different because we have seen comedians do it, and they don't get chastised for it. I mean, we've seen them do a very good Chinese accent, and it's just hilarious, right?
It's
And I don't
not
sit there and go,
outright-
"You're a racist."
No, it's not outright racist, but it is on that border of something that's inappropriate. It's something that you would not do in a meeting at work. Whereas you could perfectly easily get away with doing a Scottish or a British, say a Liverpool accent in the middle of a meeting.
Maybe it's because it's one of. Oh, speaking of which, I'm gonna switch topics real quick.
No, go ahead.
Speaking of which, we saw that interview.
Oh
with,
my God, really?
Shut up.
No.
We saw that interview with Gene Simmons the other day.
That was so good.
With the
That was
Will
amazing.
Shatner has a. That guy just keeps reinventing himself, doesn't he?
He's
But-
on a show now. Shit, my dad says.
Okay. But he's got this talk show where he like up and personal with your colon or something. But he's got this show on where he interviews celebrities, right, and tries to like dig really personal stuff. So he was talking to Gene Simmons.
Up and Personal with My Colon is the name of my Marilyn Manson cover band. Go ahead. Fair enough.
See, I would have said my.
Because he can bend all the way over.
See, I would have said my Queen cover band.
Damn it. You win. Go ahead. Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons.
Go.
So not only is he a big guy, right? He's a big dude, right? But it's incredible when you talk about. I mean, he is from Israel. He's Israeli.
Did not know that.
And
Can you do the accent?
and no, I can't do the accent.
And it would be inappropriate.
But he did. He said that it was a conscious effort by him to come over here and pick up an American accent and sound like he is from the educated Midwest, because he
Pick that specifically.
specifically picked that because he noticed that those people were the ones who were becoming successful, and those are the ones who he wanted to emulate because he wanted to be successful. So but the real kicker
cool thing
was he was talking about how he first saw the Beatles and just fell in love with the Beatles and their whole persona and everything. And this guy falls into this Liverpool accent
like it's nothing.
that was so impeccable.
Like
You
it's
would have thought
nothing.
you were talking to one of the early Beatles. It was phenomenal. And then he did a couple other accents
When
as
he was
well.
talking about picking the Midwestern accent, he exemplified. He's like, well, you could talk like you're from Boston, and he did, and then talk like you're
and
from
New York.
and he talked like a Guido from New York, and he talked like this, and just flipped in and out of them. The guy is, if not a genius, the dude is smart.
Yeah, because he
Really
he
seriously
specifically
smart.
chose people he wanted to emulate and emulated them, and became like them.
Which
And
is how you do it.
Which is how you do it, right? You pick somebody. You don't pick somebody who's 45 and turning fries at the buzzer, right, and saying, I want to model my life after him.
He's trying so hard not to pick on someone very specifically that I know. So
I'm trying
thank you for
very
not
hard.
doing that.
Well, because it's 2 against 1, and one of them's really good. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, you don't go to, you know, a loser and say, I want to pick, you know, I want to be like him. You pick somebody who's where you want to be, and
If
you
you're
say,
smart.
if you're smart, and you say, I want to be like him. But it's amazing that he specifically said, I'm watching these people, and these people dress like this, they look like this, they talk like this,
yeah.
and he patterned himself after it because he said nobody is ever going to give an Israeli Jew a chance. Nobody wants to see rock done by an Israeli Jew. Nobody wants to hear a hard rocker come in and talk like how I'm not. That was an Indian thing, but but he slipped into his native accent, and it was like, oh my God, right? I mean, the guy's good with accents. He's
Just astounding. Some year.
You got to be in show business.
I know, right?
I know, right?
I really liked him talking too about how he, you know, Shatner asked him, so how did you get? That's our 1 hour mark. How did you get into the music industry? And it was another thing that he chose specifically. He said, well, I saw the Beatles do it, and I thought, they're getting paid, and they're getting the girls. I'm not going to work at, I don't know what he said, you know, I'm not going to work at a pencil factory and get the money and get the girls. These guys get the money, they get the girls. And that's the important thing right there.
That's a job. I want that job.
That's what I want, yeah.
He said, because it's called the music business. It's a business, which means that's their job. I have a job now. That's the job I want.
What was he doing?
I
He
want a
was like
job. That's the job I want.
working as a butcher's assistant or something.
Something
nasty.
like that, yeah. But he was job, and if I got this job, I can get
This
this
would be
job.
much better.
This is much better, so I'm going to go after this job instead. I mean, it's a very
Smart.
pragmatic way of thinking about it, right? And just the hearing him talk about his mother when they finally got here from the embassy. Remember,
Oh,
she didn't speak.
that actually made me cry.
I know the American, the American guard at the embassy when they were trying to get into the embassy so they could come to America, because they had escaped Nazi Germany because they were Jews. So they had, not because, but you know, because lots of Jews didn't escape and they were Jews.
That's why they were escaping.
That's why they were escaping. So
Got it.
that's why they had to escape. So anyway, they escaped and went to Israel, right? And talking about his
No,
mother,
they escaped and went to America. They came from Israel. They went, right?
they escaped Germany, Nazi Germany. The Germans didn't attack Israel.
Yes, I know.
So they escaped and went to Israel, and from there they went to America, I believe. Is how that worked.
I don't think he was originally German. What's the point of that?
He's-
He came from Israel. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so they
Anyway,
wound up
so
in America.
They wound up in America. But anyway,
This Jew and his mother in
At
America.
the embassy, right? At the gates of the embassy, and so they're negotiating with the guard how to, you know, what language they're going to speak in, right?
And she spoke a little bit
and
of
so
German.
she spoke a little bit of German, and so the guard spoke a little bit of German, and he says, well, you know, I need you to take an oath and swear that, you know, something that you're not going to bomb us, you're not going to do this, not going to do that, right?
Whatever they make him swear.
Yeah, whatever the oath was that they made him swear. And he says, so raise your right hand. And she goes,
Like that.
Oh,
like
dear.
that. And he goes, you're never going to have to do that again. And Gene Simmons actually started crying on the thing. Because, I mean, just imagine that, being a kid and seeing your mother have to do that again. And just like, and having somebody say, sweetie,
Never again.
no, you never have to do that again. And it's just, man, it gets you, you know. It was a good story. He was a good interview.
Yeah, really.
Not
good
only is
movie.
he a really,
I wonder
really
if we
seems
could
like
get
a
him on
smart
the show.
guy. I could probably make that happen.
I bet you could.
Probably not now. We'd probably have to wait a few years after all of his tour engagements quit and all of that, and the fame dies down. Some of
Yeah, sure. Once
for
he's not,
attention.
though, yeah.
The Dr. Pepper commercials.
Yeah. Does he have DP commercials?
Yeah, he's got the cherry diet or cherry Dr. Pepper or some sort.
I don't watch commercials as much as I can. So.
Cherry Diet Dr. Pepper caffeine free with
Something
a twist
like
of lemon.
Oh.
I'll have a twist of lemon.
Somebody put a diet cherry DP in the fridge at work the other day, and I mixed it up with one of mine. Opened it, I was like,
Yeah.
I like them.
oh my god! And then I went to pour it down the sink, and it looked like that armadillo cake from Steel Magnolias, just blood all over the inside of the sink. I was like, oh my god, this is some putrid stuff. No, I'm not that fond of the cherries. I like
You
sodas.
heard it here, kids.
I like sodas with cherry in them, right? If I like put it in there, but like getting the cherry stuff inside the sodas, no, that's not very good. But I like putting cherry in a soda. That's good stuff.
On that note, we should wind down.
I think so. I'm
'Cause it's going
deadified.
on. All right, so
We still got a post show to do.
no, we don't. And I'll clearly be at Sequel Saturday number 52 in Denver tomorrow. Day after, really, but I'll be in Denver tomorrow.
Or 10 days ago if you're watching this
And
on the
yeah,
website.
or 10
Yes.
days ago, or further
You should
if
have
you're
come to
catching
see her.
up.
She'll be with our daughter, who's never going to leave her side the entire weekend, guys.
No, and I'm rooming with a girl, so, you know. You okay?
Yeah.
You feel better? And that's all we've got forever and ever. You still have things in October, and we still have our blogs, and you should join the groupies and send me your
There's a
groupie
sleeping dog down
PDA.
there.
Your groupie PDA actually has to be some expression of love for the Midnight DBAs of the show. You
Yeah,
can't
we're
just send me a
starting to get
picture of
some-
your dog.
We're starting to get some dumb crap, you know.
Well, you know, I didn't make it clear initially, but you should join the groupies because we have stuff. And
So-
there you go.
By love for the Midnight DBAs, that could, it's very broad, right? But
Get
something
creative, yeah.
something that's love for the DBAs. So if you've got like a cute teenage daughter, send me a picture. That's definitely love for the Midnight DBAs.
No, don't send pictures of daughters. That's a bad idea. Stab you in the ear. What? And that's it.
And that's it.
And that's it.
I think I'm good.
And go to the oatmeal for how to use a semicolon, which I know you can't see properly because it's washed out.
Yeah, but here it just says how to use your colon,
The
which
most-
is just as useful.
The most feared punctuation on earth. Okay.
My colon? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Actually, it's nothing compared to Skidov's colon, but I will shut up now because I'm getting the finger of death.
Do it. Do it. Do it, you wild bitch.
You're tired too, aren't you?
A bit.
Okay. Party on Wayne.
Party on Garth!
I had a, yeah, I know, right?
Well, Yummy Yummy Box is a really good name for the show title.
Sean's Yummy Yummy Box.
Why does it always have to be about... Never mind.
I'll say I can change that.
Moving
if you
right
like.
along. What were you saying?
So, there was this same question raised a while back when I think it was I think Steve Jones had submitted a Connect item and got a lot of votes on it because he talked about it in his newsletter and said everybody go vote for this.
Sure,
And-
like you do when you've got a big...
Yeah, and everybody
and like
and
that.
everybody did, and it got and so this question got raised a little bit in that scenario, and basically what it boiled down to was, well, then go get yourself a top website and ask people to vote for your shit, then, right? I mean,
It's good to be the king. Ideas on how low-budget organizations or companies can effectively monitor 60-plus databases servers with just 2 to 3 DBAs. That's from Rebecca Mitchell.
PowerShell.
PowerShell, you say? My word.
Mhm.
Do you have a set of PowerShell scripts that you use and could package up and give to people, Sean?
Yes, the thing that's been holding.
And
Yeah.
no, Penn goes through first, and he sets off the alarm. And so he comes back through, and Teller goes through, and so Penn unloads whatever he's got. He rushes through again, and he sets it off again, and he unloads his pocket, and right before he goes back through, Teller slips a little ball into his pocket so that he sets it off again. And then he gets another thing, and he puts a watch in his pocket, and again and again and again and again. And finally, I mean, and every time Penn goes through, he's a big guy, and he's out of temper, right? So every time he goes through, he gets madder, and he's screaming at the security guard, "There's something wrong!" Okay, what's the word he used?
With your fascist machine!
Something wrong with your fascist machine. And finally, you see Teller walking out with a nice smirk on his face, and he stops, turns around, and bowls the little metal ball through again, and you just hear it go off, and Penn screams, and it's just, oh, it's a beautiful scene. I adore that.
But I remember at some point afterwards, he's like, "You did the ball thing, yeah."
Yeah. So I just screamed at that poor innocent woman for no reason? Yeah. We're not in a hurry to get on the plane, are we?
And boom, and do it. If you don't, and it's going to be too much, then just go ahead and put it in a little PowerShell, especially if you've already got the framework done, right? Like I talk about in my TechNet Scripting Guys article. But it's a framework, and it's very easy to go on there.
It's a damn shame that we didn't get some kind of sponsorship from Scripting Guys. You know, like per mention, we get $5. We'd be millionaires by, okay, not millionaires.
I know, right?
We'd be dozenaires by now.
Hey, dude, it's really sad. I'm telling you, it's sad when I gotta drop my own name. So
As I was saying to myself,
as I was saying to myself, on my show, on my web show.
Okay, and take 2 on the ending here.
Are you ready?
Take 2 on the
Take 2 on the end.
You might want to edit this a little bit.
It's the name of my Queen cover band. That was the worst high five ever.
No, it's a geek high five.
Do it.
Party on Wayne.
Party on Garth.
Bag.
Oh, we're still recording.
We are?